So 2023 is going to be a difficult year. Sorry to say this, but it is going to be tough. Now, there is something that you need to hear. I don't want to be the one to tell you, but I want to be completely transparent. I want to be honest with what's happening. Now, the news that is coming out recently is not good. We are seeing more and more reports of companies laying off their employees. The reports are coming sooner and sooner, and they're actually coming with higher numbers, which means more people are being let go. And we've had this warning in the past. But let's look at this. Just recently, we have seen companies like Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, they're laying off 12,000 people. That's 6% of their entire company, and this will be the largest layoff in the company's history. Amazon, they decided they're going to lay off 18,000 people. Microsoft is going to lay off another 10,000 employees. Salesforce is going to lay off about 10% of their employees, or about 8,000 people. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, later last year, they decided they're going to decrease their workforce by more than 11,000 people. Capital One just recently announced they're going to remove 1,100 tech positions. Twitter is not done laying off employees. Real estate agents are losing their jobs. And honestly, I could make this list go on and on forever, because there's so many companies that are laying off employees at this time. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 employees. Small companies with 10 to 20 people are laying off between 2 to 4 employees. The big companies that have over 10,000 employees, we're going to see, according to reports, we will see about 3% of those employees lose their jobs. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult year. But this is what will be difficult for most of these people. The majority of these people are making over $100,000 per year. You look at anybody in the tech sector, they're making more than $100,000 per year. You look at real estate agents, again, in most cases over the past few years, the majority of them were making more than $100,000 per year. And many from the tech sector are actually making more than that. They're making over $250,000 per year, some even making more than $1 million per year. And it will be tough for them to find something similar in the near future. But do you know what their options are going to be? Well, for most, they're going to take some time to figure out what employers are looking for, which employers are hiring, and which would be the best fit for them. But based off of recent statements from CEOs and CFOs, they're going to take a break. They're not going to hire for a little while because they want to wait and see what's going to happen with the U.S. economy. So these employees will now need to live off their severance packages, their stocks, savings, home equity. That's what they're going to have to do. But that won't be all that bad for a lot of these people, because as many of these people already have emergency funds that they can simply fall back on. So they'll be perfectly fine. But there's a bigger problem. And this is something that you need to know. This is where I said, I'm sorry, but I want you to know the facts. I want you to know what's happening. Here's what's going on. Smaller companies are looking to hire these people as they leave these larger companies. And although that in itself is the problem, we want to see these recently laid off employees go and find a new position. The problem comes when the current employees get laid off simply to bring in somebody that is more qualified, okay, or has a more impressive resume. But what happens when Jane Smith, who previously got $40,000 to $50,000 per year from her job, what happens when she gets let go? You think she gets a severance package that's going to pay her for 6 to 12 months? No, it's not. Do you think she's going to be sitting on $500,000 to $1 million in home equity? Probably not. Do you think she has stock options that she can turn to? No. The average person will not have any of these things. And if you don't think this is going to happen to you, well, think again. I hope it doesn't. Let's pray it doesn't, but let's think again. Let's be realistic, okay? Because when we are hearing that more people will be let go, this should be a concern for everybody. Listen to what one community member posted in the comments just a few days back. This person says, and I quote, "The layoffs are happening, and it isn't just the big companies. My company, who I've worked for since 2005, Just let me go. So they've been working for this company for 18 years. They said that they couldn't afford to keep me on, but I heard from a fellow employee that they hired somebody else to fill my position and 2 others. Is this really what companies are doing now? And I can tell you it is. This is what companies are doing. Companies are trying to find ways to cut costs. The employees are the biggest cost. So what many companies are doing is they're letting one person go, right? Or let's say 10 people go. And instead of hiring 10 new people for less, they hire like 5 people. And those people work for less per hour, but at the same time, they're actually doing 2 different jobs. So the company is getting more out of that person. Now, this is exactly what employment experts predicted would happen back in the early part of 2022. And I remember I covered it here on this channel. They predicted that we would see a transition where high income earners would be let go. And instead of waiting around, collecting unemployment or anything like that, they're going to go and take the place of a lower income or middle income earner. Now, let me ask you this question. What would you do if you lost your job because somebody with a more impressive resume came in and took it? That person doesn't necessarily have to have more experience. They don't have to have a better college, a fancier college degree. They simply came in from a larger company like a Meta or Amazon or Google, Alphabet, whatever. They came in from a bigger company and now they're given your job. What would you do? Could you live off of your emergency fund? Do you have savings that you can fall back on? Could you liquidate some stocks? Could you live off your home equity? What would you do? Most people are going to say that they don't know. Let me just run this by you really quick. Now, frequently I ask different people, how things are going, and these are usually people that are close to me. And just recently I asked somebody, what happens if your company lets you go next week? Just curious what they were going to say. Now, this person's pretty well off. I don't think they're really going to mind, but what kind of came out of their mouth was shocking to me. They said, my company won't let me go. We're doing just fine. My company's so strong. They're not going to let anybody go. If anything, they're going to be hiring more people. No, that's usually not the case. In a recession, almost every single company is going to let go of some people. So to be that out of touch with reality is scary. And again, like I said, this person's fairly well off. I don't think they would mind if they lost their job for a year. They'd be okay. Now, here's another problem. The IMF, this is the International Monetary Fund based out of Washington, D.C., they consist of about 190 countries. And they have said just recently that 1 out of every 3 countries is going to end up in a global recession in 2023. This means that more than 63 countries will experience more layoffs, they will experience less spending, and we will see a complete shift from where we were just 1 year ago. That is what we are expecting. So like I said, difficult times are ahead. And it's not necessarily difficult because we are going to see prices increase. We're going to see interest rates go up. The reason why it's going to be difficult is because many people are going to be changing jobs. Not necessarily because they want to, because they are forced to. And as we see this change, here's what I can tell you. You may be making less money. You may have to move. You may have to, swallow your pride and just do whatever you need to do because that is the only job available. But again, I'm sorry, and I just want you to know this because this is what the mainstream media isn't telling us. The mainstream media is telling us we're going to be okay. It's just the technology jobs that are going away. Yeah, those people are being let go, but do you think they're just going to sit on the sideline, twiddle their thumbs all day? No, they're going to get a different job. I even heard from one of my friends just recently, and his wife or his wife's somebody related to his wife, right? So I guess somebody related to him as well. they actually just recently lost their job as well. And it was simply because of the same thing. Somebody came in that had a better resume that was actually coming from Microsoft. Here in Washington State, we have a lot of Microsoft employees. But anyway, they came from Microsoft. They pretty much demoted him, not promoted, demoted him to a different position. He was in that position for, I think, about a month and a half. Then at that point, that position, they cut it. That wasn't the position anymore. So again, difficult times are going to be coming very soon. So be prepared. Get an emergency fund. Put some money into savings. Pay off your debt. Do not increase your expenses. Just live below your means, and you should be perfectly fine.